You didn't get the job because your interview wasn't good enough. Look, I know it's not a popular opinion. I know what you want to hear is, oh, you were pipped to the post. It was so close because that's what feels good for our ego, right? But honestly, what it means was your interview wasn't good enough. Maybe you were put in as someone to see compared to their favourite client, their favourite candidate, but you still had a chance. Maybe you were just pipped to the post, but if your feedback is no more than that, it just means you just weren't good enough. I know, I'm sorry. And I do mean this with kindness, because what I'm seeing at the moment is that there are some great people. They are having multiple first interviews, which means that their document is getting through applicant tracking systems, or they're having really great conversations with recruiters who are putting them forward for these jobs. That's you. You're getting interview after interview after interview, but no cigar. And what does that mean? It either means, number one, that you're overqualified and you pitched yourself too high, they couldn't see you doing the hands-on role. You're too strategic, not tactical enough. Fine. Maybe it means that you were underqualified, so you didn't talk yourself up. So everything that they were looking for, you didn't give them strategy. You gave them too much tactical. So you were overqualified, you were underqualified, and that's how you've appeared. But your CV has said that you can do the job, right? So this is about you on the day. It might be that you just didn't answer the question thoroughly. Now, let me be honest with you. Nobody really gets taught how to do an interview. Now, what we've heard, a lot of you will have heard of the STAR method of answering a question, right? This is not a company directive. This is not companies that say, answer it in the STAR method. It's guidance. It's how to tell a story so that you cover all the key points and you tell them what happened and you get the result in there. Otherwise, often people just wander off into the woods. But we never really get taught much more than situation, task, action, result. Let me tell you what's important. Most people focus on the action and what they did because that's the bit that they can remember. And they must remember to tell the result because we always forget that bit. Sure. What about the situation? The situation is setting the story. This story that you're about to tell is a hero's journey. You ever heard that before? If you've watched Superman, the baby was born on planet Krypton. There was peril, there was drama, and at the end he becomes Superman and saves the world. This story that you're going to tell is a hero's journey. It's where things were terrible. They were awful. And you came in, put your pants on the outside and saved the day. So as an example, what happens normally is that you'll tell this story. Can you tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult customer? And you will say, yes, the situation was that a customer called in and I could hear a team member trying to deal with that call. That person needed to be, this is what happened with the call. The person was unhappy, so they passed it over to me. I needed to calm that customer down to stop them complaining. The action was that I spoke to them on the phone, I gave them a discount. The result was they were happy and they went away. Now, if you think about it from an interviewer's perspective, that story is so bland. So what? Like, you could, what? That's boring. What's happened is that the interviewer is thinking, I've got customers who are shouting and screaming and complaining to the press and messaging our CEO. If that's the best example that you've got, it's not good enough. How are you going to cope with a real problem? But if you set the story up like this, so the situation was, it was a really hot day in August. Our air conditioning was broken. We had only two members of staff in because the team were on holiday and a lot of team were on holiday or off sick. So we only had two people fielding, 50 calls an hour. The phones were ringing off the hook. It was hot, it was sweaty, and I could overhear my team member getting really flustered because somebody was obviously really shouting at them. I waved them over and got them to pass the call through to me. What I discovered was that our company had dropped a ton of bricks through their roof. What we also found out was that it was the chief executive's daughter. She was about to contact the chief executive and really land us all in the dirt. So what I did was I took down all of the details. I made sure that I was really listening. I let her rant because she was really upset. And then I gave her a plan. So I told her exactly what I was going to do next. I was going to call our insurance company. I was going to call the delivery company. I was going to call the account manager that was dealing with her case. And I would call her back within half an hour. Whether I'd managed to sort anything out or not, I would call her back and let her know the situation. The result was that the customer wasn't happy. We dropped bricks through her roof, but she had accepted that we'd sorted out the insurance, we'd sorted out somebody to come and have a look at the damage, and sorted out all the fix. And further on, we managed the case and got it all sorted out within a week. Can you see the difference? And you add in there about the sleepless nights, how stressful it was, that you had to have a conversation with the CEO to let them know what happened and that this was really terrible and all the things that you were doing. You add in those things and now it becomes a really compelling story. Oh my God, how did you deal with that? They're the stories you want to tell in your interview, not these blandy shandy, stupid dupid, like ridiculous answers. What you're remembering is the surface level. You're remembering now you've had the sleepless nights and you've got over it. You're remembering that, like, oh, here's the key things that I did. What you're not remembering is actually how awful it was at the time. That's why you're telling this story. But the person who's listening to you doesn't know how awful it was. They don't know that there was only 2 people that day fielding 50 calls. They don't know the air conditioning was broken. They don't know that it was the CEO's daughter. They don't know that your company had dropped bricks through her roof, right? They don't know all of that context. You give them the context, and the context really tells you the story. The things that you did almost are like a sideline to that, but the situation and the result are the real important things here, and the things that people don't do as much. So go back to your questions, go back to the stories that you want to tell. And don't necessarily think about a particular question that you want to answer. Think about all of the details. Go back into your mind palace and walk around that example. You're going to have to drag it from the back of your head to the front of your head because it's gone into filing. It's like off-site filing. It's Iron Mountain. We need to get it to the front of your head, remembering, oh God, yeah, and I was sat next to so-and-so and the carpet was blue and this happened and, here were all the problems and somebody complained. And the more that you can remember all of that story, the more you can really get into the feeling of how it felt at the time. So give that a go. See what you think and let me know about your storytelling. And maybe send me over an example, maybe I can help. And have a wonderful day. And I'm sorry about the interview feedback harshness at the beginning. I just want you to do well. Good luck.